Lena Morris had always been careful with money. Ever since she started working as a realtor in the small town of Willow Creek, she had seen the rise and fall of fortunes, and she had learned quickly that life could change in a heartbeat. But at 28, Lena had found herself in a place she never thought she would be: broke. Commissions were slow, expenses were high, and her tiny apartment seemed to mock her every day. She walked past a row of shuttered businesses one Saturday morning, her coffee in hand, the chilly wind biting at her cheeks. That was when she noticed it: a tall, weathered mill at the edge of town. Its paint had long peeled away, and the windows were coated with decades of grime. Most people avoided it, saying it was haunted or cursed, or just too old to bother with. But something about it pulled at Lena. The for sale sign leaned slightly to one side, faded and nearly unreadable. She squinted and saw the price scrawled at the bottom: $500. Her first thought was disbelief. $500? That was less than her rent. She stepped closer, her curiosity fully awakened. The mill looked like it had been abandoned for decades, yet its solid structure whispered potential. She pulled out her phone and dialed the number on the sign. A gruff voice answered, brief and to the point. The owner, an elderly man named Mr. Harper, confirmed it was for sale and that the price was final. "It hasn't been touched in years," he said, "but it's all yours if you want it." Lena didn't even hesitate. She handed over the money, signed the papers, and suddenly, the mill was hers. Her friends were shocked when she told them. $500? That place is falling apart, they said. But Lena only smiled. She had a feeling that the mill held something more than just old wood and dust. Her first day inside the mill was a mix of excitement and unease. The floors creaked under her weight, and cobwebs hung like curtains from the rafters. Sunlight streamed through broken windows, casting streaks of light on the worn wooden floors. The smell of old grain and mildew filled the air, but Lena didn't mind. She saw potential where others saw ruin. As she explored, Lena noticed unusual markings on the walls, almost like symbols scratched into the wood. They seemed random at first, but something about them felt deliberate. She took pictures, thinking maybe they were left by workers decades ago. Then she found a small trapdoor under a loose floorboard. It was hidden almost perfectly, and its presence made her pulse quicken. She knelt and pushed it open, revealing a dark staircase leading down into the ground. A faint musty smell rose from below. Lena's heart raced. She wasn't sure what she would find, but her instincts told her that whatever was down there, it was important. She grabbed a flashlight from her bag, clicked it on, and slowly descended. The air grew cooler as she went deeper, and the walls closed in around her. At the bottom, she found a small stone room. Its walls were rough and unpolished, but in the center, something caught her eye: an old wooden chest, bound with rusted iron. Her hands trembled as she lifted the heavy lid. Inside, there were stacks of old documents, ledgers, and bundles of papers, all tied with faded ribbons. Lena pulled out one of the ledgers and carefully turned the pages. They were records of the mill's operations from decades ago: shipments, payments, and strange annotations that didn't make sense at first glance. She kept flipping, and then she saw it: a list of items, hidden beneath the mill, items of incredible value. There were drawings, blueprints, and notes about shipments of rare artifacts, precious metals, and coins that had disappeared during the early 1900s. Lena's mind raced. Could this really be real? Was it possible that the mill had been a secret storage for treasures long forgotten? She felt a surge of hope and disbelief. Her thoughts were interrupted by a noise above. Someone was in the mill. Lena froze, her flashlight trembling in her hands. But it was only the wind, rattling the windows. She took a deep breath and focused back on the chest. She carefully wrapped some of the papers in a clean cloth she had in her bag. She knew she needed to do more research before acting. Over the next few days, Lena returned to the mill daily. She cleaned, organized, and studied every document she could find. She discovered that the previous owner had hidden not only financial records but also maps that indicated the presence of underground tunnels beneath the mill. These tunnels were rumored to connect to the old warehouses and secret vaults across Willow Creek. The more she read, the more convinced she became that the mill was not just an abandoned building. It was a gateway to something extraordinary. Lena knew she needed help to explore it further, but she had to be careful. Rumors of the mill's strange history had circulated for years, and if the wrong people found out what she had discovered, it could be dangerous. One evening, Lena sat in her small apartment with a spread of maps and ledgers before her. The flickering light of a single lamp illuminated the room. Her mind raced with possibilities. The mill had cost her $500, but if her research was correct, the treasure hidden beneath could change her life forever. She had a plan. She would start by carefully mapping the underground tunnels, following the clues left in the ledgers. She would document everything, ensuring she knew exactly what she was dealing with before making any moves. Lena knew patience was key. Rushing could lead to mistakes, and mistakes could be costly. The next morning, she returned to the mill with tools, notebooks, and enough supplies to spend the entire day exploring. She opened the trapdoor and descended into the stone room once more. The chest awaited her, and beside it, she found a small, hidden key taped to the wall, something she hadn't noticed before. She tried it on a locked compartment at the base of the chest. It clicked open. Inside was a small, leather-bound journal. The handwriting was elegant and meticulous. It belonged to the mill's original owner, a man named Thomas Hargrave. The journal detailed his life and, most importantly, the treasures he had hidden to protect them from thieves and corrupt officials. It spoke of coins from Europe, rare jewelry, and artifacts collected during travels that had disappeared from history books. Lena's hands shook as she read. Each entry revealed more than just items. It revealed a story of secrecy, danger, and ingenuity. Hargrave had anticipated that only someone truly curious and patient would ever uncover his secrets. Lena realized that the treasure wasn't just valuable in monetary terms. It was a piece of history, a story preserved for the right person to find. Hours passed, and Lena felt a sense of exhilaration she hadn't experienced in years. She had come to the mill seeking opportunity, and now it seemed as though fate had led her to something far greater than she could have imagined. She knew this was only the beginning. The mill, its hidden tunnels, and the treasure beneath held secrets that would take time to fully uncover. As the sun set, Lena climbed back up from the trapdoor, her mind alive with plans. She locked the mill behind her and walked home, feeling a sense of purpose she hadn't felt in months. She was no longer broke. She was no longer directionless. And somewhere beneath that abandoned mill, history waited for her discovery. But Lena didn't yet know the challenges ahead. She would face unexpected obstacles, people who wanted to steal her discovery, and puzzles that tested her courage and wits. What she found beneath the mill would eventually change her life forever. But first, she had to survive the journey and prove she was the one meant to uncover its secrets. The morning sun broke through the horizon, painting Willow Creek in shades of gold and rose. Lena Morris barely slept the night before. Thoughts of the hidden journal, the chest, and the underground tunnels filled her mind. Every sound in her apartment seemed louder than usual. The hum of the fridge, the distant bark of a dog, even the creak of her old radiator. She could hardly wait to return to the mill. By mid-morning, she was back at the edge of town, keys in hand, ready to descend once more into the mill's hidden depths. Today, she wasn't just going to study the chest. She was going to explore the tunnels that Thomas Hargrave had written about. The trapdoor groaned as she lifted it, the musty smell rising to greet her. Flashlight in hand, Lena descended, her heart thumping with anticipation. The stone room at the bottom seemed smaller than she remembered, yet somehow more ominous. The chest sat quietly in the corner, almost as if it were waiting for her return. She took a deep breath and examined the walls carefully. Hargrave's journal mentioned a hidden lever that would reveal the entrance to the tunnels. Lena's eyes scanned every corner, every scratch on the stone. After several tense minutes, her fingers brushed against a small indentation in the wall. Pressing it gently, she heard a low rumble, and part of the wall slid aside, revealing a narrow, dark passage. Her heart raced. The air that escaped from the passage was cooler, carrying a faint scent of earth and metal. Lena switched on her flashlight and stepped inside. The tunnel was tight, forcing her to crouch, and the uneven floor made each step cautious. But as she moved forward, she felt a thrill she hadn't felt in years, the excitement of discovery, the pull of adventure. The tunnel twisted and turned, and after a few minutes, Lena reached a small chamber. Its walls were lined with shelves, and scattered across them were crates, jars, and metal boxes, some rusted, some intact. She approached the nearest crate, and opened it carefully. Inside were bundles of coins, their surfaces worn but clearly valuable. Lena's pulse quickened, she was holding history in her hands. Her exploration was interrupted by a noise behind her. A metallic clatter echoed through the tunnel. Lena froze, listening intently. Nothing. She shook her head, dismissing it as the settling of the old building. Still, she couldn't ignore the feeling that she wasn't alone. She continued deeper into the chamber, finding more crates filled with jewelry, old documents, and objects of extraordinary craftsmanship. There were small statues, gold-plated trinkets, and even a few rare books whose leather covers were cracked with age. Each discovery seemed more incredible than the last, and Lena carefully documented everything in her notebook, taking pictures and notes to ensure she wouldn't miss a detail. As she examined a stack of crates in the far corner, she noticed a set of stairs leading further down. The journal had mentioned multiple levels beneath the mill, each containing more hidden treasures. Lena's excitement mingled with caution. She didn't know what dangers awaited below, but she felt ready. The stairs were narrow, carved from stone, and their surface was slick with moisture. Lena descended slowly, her flashlight revealing walls covered in intricate carvings and symbols. She paused to study them. Some appeared to be maps, others coded messages, perhaps warnings or instructions from Hargrave himself. The level of planning and secrecy amazed her. At the bottom, Lena found a large vault-like room. Its doors were thick wood reinforced with iron bands. The journal had described this chamber as Hargrave's personal collection, the most valuable items hidden under the mill. She approached cautiously and pushed the doors open. Inside, the room was filled with light filtered through a small, high window. Dust motes floated in the beams, highlighting the room's grandeur despite years of neglect. In the center of the room, atop a stone pedestal, sat an intricately carved box. Lena could feel the weight of history radiating from it. Carefully, she lifted the lid. Inside were dozens of gold coins, each stamped with images she didn't recognize, and several delicate jewelry pieces encrusted with precious gems. Her eyes widened. She realized that she had stumbled upon an unimaginable fortune. But as she marveled at her discovery, a sound behind her made her spin around. Footsteps, deliberate and heavy, echoed from the upper tunnel. Lena froze. Someone else had entered the mill. She had been so focused on her exploration that she hadn't considered the possibility of others seeking the mill's secrets. Heart pounding, Lena ducked behind one of the crates, clutching a small bag she had prepared for valuables she could safely carry. Peeking out, she saw two men in dark clothing entering the chamber. They were clearly not casual visitors. Their eyes scanned the room with intent, and their movements were methodical, almost predatory. Lena's mind raced. She couldn't confront them. She was alone and unarmed. She needed a plan. Slowly, she retreated deeper into the tunnel, sticking to the shadows. Her flashlight flickered, and she held her breath as the men approached the vault room. Their voices were low, but she caught snippets of conversation. "Did you check the lower levels?" one asked. "Not yet. The old mill's secrets are supposed to be down there," the other replied. Lena's stomach tightened. They were looking for the very treasure she had just discovered. She knew she couldn't let them find it. Quietly, she moved into a side passage she had noticed earlier, hoping it would lead her to an exit or a safer hiding place. The passage led her to a small, hidden alcove. From there, she could see the men moving past, unaware of her presence. She took deep breaths, trying to calm her racing heart. The risk had become real. The treasure wasn't just a reward anymore, it was a danger. After several tense minutes, the men left the main chamber, their footsteps fading. Lena waited until she was certain the coast was clear. Then, she emerged from the alcove, her mind buzzing with adrenaline. She knew she needed help, but she couldn't trust just anyone. Anyone could betray her if they knew what she had found. She returned to the surface, locking the trapdoor behind her. The sun had set, casting long shadows over the abandoned mill. Lena felt a mix of exhilaration and fear. She had discovered a fortune, but she had also discovered that others were after it. That night, in the safety of her apartment, Lena studied the journal and her notes. The maps indicated even more hidden rooms, secret compartments, and possibly undiscovered tunnels beneath Willow Creek. She realized that the treasure was far larger than she had imagined, and retrieving it all would require careful planning, courage, and clever thinking. She made a decision. Lena would continue exploring, but she would do so on her own terms. She would uncover the mill's secrets methodically, documenting everything and ensuring no one could outsmart her. The journey ahead would be dangerous, but Lena felt ready. For the first time in years, she felt a sense of control over her life, a purpose that made every struggle worthwhile. And somewhere beneath that old mill, history waited for her, hidden, mysterious, and incredibly valuable. Lena knew that each discovery would bring her closer to the ultimate treasure, but also closer to challenges she couldn't yet foresee. The following morning, Lena returned to the abandoned mill with a mix of determination and caution. The memory of the men she had seen in the tunnels haunted her, but she refused to be intimidated. She had discovered a fortune hidden beneath the mill, and she knew that whoever else might be after it wouldn't be able to outsmart her if she planned carefully. She checked the perimeter first. The mill was silent, seemingly empty, though she knew better. She climbed down the trapdoor, flashlight in hand, and entered the stone room where her adventure had begun. Her heartbeat quickened as she examined the chest and the journals once more. Today, she planned to follow the last set of clues from Thomas Hargrave's writings, the ones that hinted at the deepest chamber, the heart of the mill's secrets. The narrow tunnel she had discovered earlier led her to a series of steps, descending even deeper than before. The air grew colder and damper with each step. Lena's flashlight illuminated walls carved with intricate symbols and markings. Some seemed to be warnings, others directions. She moved cautiously, her senses on high alert. She wasn't alone in wanting the mill's secrets. After a long descent, Lena reached a stone door with an iron handle, the heaviest she had seen yet. According to the journal, this was Hargrave's final chamber, where he kept the most valuable items. Lena pushed with all her strength, and the door groaned as it slowly opened. Inside, the room was vast, far larger than she had imagined. Wooden crates lined the walls, each labeled with dates and descriptions in Hargrave's elegant handwriting. In the center stood a pedestal holding a small chest, polished and intact despite decades of neglect. Lena approached carefully, her hands trembling with anticipation. As she reached for the chest, a sudden sound froze her. Footsteps echoed from the tunnel behind her. The two men from before had returned, and they were not alone this time. Lena's heart raced. She had to act quickly, or all her efforts could be undone. Thinking fast, Lena ducked behind a crate and grabbed a few smaller crates of coins and jewelry, shoving them into her backpack. She needed a distraction. Quietly, she tipped over a metal box nearby. It clattered loudly across the stone floor, drawing the men's attention. "Over here!" one of them shouted. They ran toward the noise, giving Lena the chance to slip into a narrow side passage she hadn't noticed before. She moved as quietly as possible, her flashlight illuminating carvings that marked her path. The tunnel curved sharply, then opened into another hidden chamber. Here, she found a small hatch in the floor. Lena opened it carefully and climbed down into a concealed tunnel that seemed designed for escape. The journal had hinted at secret exits in case of danger, and now Lena realized that Hargrave had planned for situations exactly like this. The tunnel led her to the edge of a nearby forest. Sunlight streamed through the trees, and for the first time in hours, Lena felt relief. She had escaped the men, and she had the most valuable items in her possession. She stopped to catch her breath, her mind racing with possibilities. She knew that the treasure she had recovered was just a fraction of what Hargrave had hidden. The journals contained maps and instructions that could lead to even more discoveries. But she also knew that she needed help to handle such a vast collection safely. She couldn't do it alone, and she needed to keep it hidden from anyone who might try to take it. Back in her apartment, Lena laid out the treasures and studied the journals carefully. Each document revealed not only items of value but also their history. Coins from Europe, rare jewelry, small artworks, and artifacts from distant lands. Each piece was unique and invaluable. Lena realized that she wasn't just holding a fortune, she was holding a piece of history, preserved and hidden for over a century. Over the next few weeks, Lena carefully cataloged everything, securing the treasures in a private, hidden location. She contacted a trusted historian and a professional appraiser to verify the authenticity of the items. Word spread quietly among experts, and soon, Lena had both recognition and the means to sell select pieces legally, without drawing unwanted attention. The mill, once a symbol of decay and poverty, had become Lena's gateway to success. The $500 she had spent seemed insignificant compared to what she had uncovered. She had turned what everyone else saw as a worthless building into a life-changing discovery. But it wasn't just the treasure that changed Lena's life. The experience taught her courage, patience, and resourcefulness. She had faced danger, outsmarted others, and trusted her instincts. The abandoned mill had not only given her wealth but also confidence and a sense of purpose she had never known. Months later, Lena stood at the edge of the mill, looking at the worn wooden structure that had started it all. She remembered her first steps inside, the thrill of opening the chest, and the fear of being discovered by the men who had tried to claim the treasure. She smiled, realizing that she had not only found fortune but had also earned it through determination and intelligence. The mill remained abandoned on the outside, mysterious and silent, but beneath it lay secrets that had been preserved for the right person to uncover. Lena had been that person, and in doing so, she had rewritten her life. She had bought the abandoned mill for $500, and what she had found beneath had turned her life around, giving her wealth, adventure, and a story she would never forget. Lena Morris, once a struggling realtor, was now the guardian of history and fortune, a testament to curiosity, courage, and the belief that even the most overlooked places can hold unimaginable treasures. The success Lena had quietly achieved over the past few months felt surreal. Every morning, she would wake up in her modest apartment and glance at the journals, maps, and artifacts she had catalogued. Each piece whispered a story of the past, of Thomas Hargrave's life, and of the hidden history of Willow Creek itself. Yet, as much as she felt triumphant, she knew her journey was far from over. News of unusual historical finds had begun to circulate through the local community. Though Lena had kept her discovery mostly secret, rumors spread. Some spoke of an old mill hiding long-lost treasures. Others whispered that the mill had a mysterious history, that a fortune lay beneath it waiting for the right person to uncover it. Lena had learned quickly that curiosity, especially in a small town, could be dangerous. One evening, as she sat at her kitchen table organizing the day's notes, there was a knock at the door. Lena's heart skipped a beat. Visitors at this hour were unusual, and she was cautious. She peeked through the peephole and saw a man in a well-tailored suit holding a briefcase. He smiled politely. "Ms. Morris? My name is Daniel Reed. I'm a historian specializing in early American industrial sites," he said, extending his hand. "I heard about the mill. I believe you may have found something significant. I'd like to offer my assistance in documenting the site and ensuring the artifacts are preserved correctly." Lena hesitated. Trust was a fragile commodity now. One wrong move, and the secrecy she had maintained could be shattered. Yet, she sensed honesty in his voice. The careful way he presented himself, the knowledge in his eyes. It was hard to doubt that he was sincere. "All right," she said cautiously. "But this has to remain confidential. Only a few people can know." Daniel nodded. "Absolutely. I understand the importance of discretion. Let me help you protect what you've discovered." Over the next few weeks, Daniel and Lena worked together, cataloging artifacts, photographing coins, and scanning maps. The historian's expertise was invaluable. He deciphered markings in Hargrave's journals that Lena had struggled to understand, revealing the full extent of the hidden treasure. There were secret compartments, tunnels connecting to other properties, and even clues about forgotten shipments of rare artifacts across the state. Despite their progress, Lena couldn't shake a growing unease. The men who had intruded in the tunnels before had disappeared from sight, but she knew they had not given up. One night, as she was examining a set of documents, she noticed signs of recent activity at the mill. Footprints in the dust near the entrance, small marks on the trapdoor's handle. Someone had been there. Someone had been watching. Lena's pulse quickened. She had faced fear before, but now it was different. The stakes were higher. Her fortune, her life's work, and the history she had uncovered could be at risk. She needed a plan, one that ensured both her safety and the preservation of the mill's secrets. She enlisted Daniel's help once more. Together, they devised a careful surveillance system. Cameras hidden in the trees, motion sensors, and quiet alarms gave them early warnings if anyone approached. Lena also reinforced the mill's entrances and created secret escape routes through the tunnels Hargrave had cleverly designed. Every precaution reminded her that history, treasure, and danger often walked hand in hand. Then came the unexpected. One evening, as Lena returned from the town library where she had been researching Hargrave's personal correspondence, she found a small envelope slipped under her apartment door. Inside was a note, written in neat, almost elegant handwriting. "Leave the mill. Some things are meant to remain buried." Lena's hands trembled as she read it. Whoever had left it knew about the mill, knew about her discovery. Fear clawed at her, but anger and determination surged stronger. She refused to abandon the mill and the treasures that were part of history, not just fortune. Whoever was threatening her underestimated her resolve. The next day, she and Daniel returned to the mill with renewed vigilance. Their work continued, but the tension was palpable. They mapped more tunnels, discovered hidden vaults within vaults, and pieced together the full history of Hargrave's life. Lena realized that Hargrave had not only collected valuable items but had meticulously recorded their origin and significance. Some coins were from lost shipments of gold from Europe, others were rare American mintings, and several artifacts had been smuggled during turbulent historical periods. It wasn't just wealth, it was a collection of stories, secrets, and the unseen threads of history. Lena became increasingly protective. The mill was no longer just a means to change her life financially, it had become a responsibility. She was the guardian of something extraordinary. Yet the threats remained. One night, a shadow moved near the mill. Lena, armed with only a flashlight and determination, crept outside. In the dim light, she saw a figure rifling through the undergrowth. Adrenaline surged through her. She yelled, startling the intruder. The figure bolted, disappearing into the woods. Lena realized that the men from before had returned, more daring than ever. She knew she couldn't face them alone. With Daniel, they devised a plan to secure the mill permanently. The artifacts would be moved to a safe location, the tunnels sealed temporarily, and the site monitored until authorities could be discreetly involved. Lena's careful balance of secrecy and protection became her new daily life, a mix of exploration, vigilance, and strategy. As weeks turned into months, Lena grew more confident. She sold a few verified artifacts to trusted collectors, funding her research and expanding her operations. Each sale was discreet, leaving no trace that could attract the wrong attention. The treasure she had found was no longer just coins and jewelry, it had become her life's work. Amid this, Lena also uncovered Hargrave's personal story, hidden among the journals. He had been a visionary, aware of the world's dangers and the greed that could consume men. His collection was not just wealth, it was a lesson in foresight, trust, and patience. Lena felt a deep connection to him, as if their paths had converged across time. The mill, once abandoned and overlooked, had transformed Lena's life in ways she had never imagined. She had faced danger, solved historical puzzles, and preserved a secret that could have been lost forever. Every challenge she overcame strengthened her resolve and her sense of purpose. And yet, the mill had one final secret to reveal. One evening, while following a newly discovered tunnel indicated in the journal, Lena stumbled upon a hidden chamber, small and hidden even from her previous explorations. Inside was a single ornate box, unlike any other. The carvings on it were intricate, almost alive in their detail. Lena opened it carefully. Inside, she found Hargrave's final journal, detailing not just his collection, but his philosophy, why he had hidden it, and what he had hoped for the person who found it. It was a guide, a testament, and a challenge all in one. Hargrave had believed that wealth was meaningless without wisdom, courage, and integrity. Lena realized she had passed the test. She had discovered the treasure, yes, but she had also proven herself worthy as a guardian of history. In that moment, Lena understood something profound. The mill had not only given her wealth but had transformed her character, her vision, and her life's purpose. She had been given a choice, a challenge, and she had risen to meet it. Months later, Lena stood at the edge of the mill once more. The sun was setting, casting golden light across the fields. The mill remained abandoned to the casual observer, silent and mysterious. But Lena knew the truth. Beneath its worn floors and rusted beams lay history, treasure, and the story of a woman who dared to look deeper, who refused to be ordinary. She smiled, feeling a sense of fulfillment and pride unlike anything she had ever known. She had bought the abandoned mill for $500, and what she found beneath had turned her life around, not just in wealth, but in courage, purpose, and legacy. Lena Morris had become more than a realtor. She had become a protector of secrets, a discoverer of history, and a woman who had rewritten her destiny. And deep in her heart, she knew that the adventure of the mill, with all its secrets and lessons, would stay with her forever.